James from All Hail Internal Combustion. Disassembling 302 block take 2. So since our last block was so trashed, we sent that to the scrapyard. It's a non-roller block, and in our opinion, it's a complete waste of time to do the work it needed done. It probably need line board and bearings and crank. It's just not worth it for a non-roller block. So my good buddy Mikey has a mid-70s Bronco, and he is getting a whole new motor for it. So he said, well, I don't need this one anymore, and I want to see it go to a good home. Now, it wasn't in his Bronco. Well, it was in there for a long time, but he blew the transmission in it and it sat for a couple years. So this intake manifold belonged to his grandfather, so we just brought it home because I'm going to clean it up for him, and we'll probably make a wall hanger out of it for him. But and the oil pan is something I agreed that I would clean up for him real good because that's specific to a Bronco. It's got some kind of plug on the side here, maybe a oil return for something. I'm not sure on this side. Comment if you know what this is for. It wasn't hooked up to anything. Maybe some kind of.
It's probably a knock sensor or some crap because this engine's out of a '93 Mercury Grand Marquis. Oh yeah, the oil pan is off a Bronco.
Yeah, this is a specific oil pan to the Bronco. It's got a plug in the front, plug in the back to do both pumps. And that's just how it fits inside the Bronco. The motor mounts are exactly the same though, from R302 to this one. So this is a roller 302. So, and we can tell that as soon as we take off the intake. That's the easiest way. So pop that off.
That needs a good cleaning. Needs a cleaning.
Yeah, she does got some sludge in it, but that's exactly why we're pulling this thing apart. We're pulling this apart the gaskets, it must be stuck to the intake. So we're just pulling everything apart to make sure everything's good. So it looks like all the dog bones are in place. And I could spin all the push rods except for the two that are, on each side that are under compression. Tension. Yeah, this and this one. But the rest of them spin. So I don't think we have any bent push rods. That's a good sign. He said the motor ran well. I never personally heard it run just because it's been off the road for so long. But I believe him. So we're planning on pulling this apart and checking out and seeing exactly what we need. So follow us on this journey as we pull the rest of this motor apart. Take 2. And take 2 different motor. And get this thing cleaned up. Figure out what we're going to need. And we're going to do some head comparison from the... we're thinking that these are their original 302 roller heads that were on here, on this motor. I want to say they're painted the same. You can tell in some spots. So we're going to identify the heads. So we'll probably do a separate video on identifying heads and figuring out which ones are going to flow better for us and which ones are going to get us the best compression and the best flow. And obviously all that for horsepower. So, yeah. He requested his timing cover back, which was no problem for us either, because that's ours is cleaned and painted and ready to be put back on a motor. So he said the rear main seal was bad too, but again, we're going to be getting a whole new motor kit, gasket kit. So. Those are always a little tricky because they got gasket sealer all over them. You don't put gasket sealer on that, you're going to have a bad day. You'll be like, I'm all done with my water pump. Why is it leaking? That wasn't quite enough on it. Pops picked up a 302 one time. The bolts going through the water pump and into the timing cover were so bad they seized to the timing cover. We had to break the timing cover off just to get the bolts out. That's pretty bad. Yeah, right there. I think that's it. Would you take the rest out already?
No.
Oh, that's just for the backer plate. Yeah, a lot of people don't put those back in. They don't care. All right. Let's see. here.
You sure you got them all? Because there's usually one that hides underneath at the bottom.
Right here. On the side. So, I don't think anybody's interested in keeping this water pump. Ours is new, isn't it? Did we put a new one on ours?
Yeah. We got 2 new ones floating around.
That one still actually feels pretty tight, but the fluid that came out of this motor was very, very, very discouraging. It was not pretty at all. So we're definitely be checking this thing out pretty seriously. So we gotta really check it for cracks too. It's kind of important. It's strange, the antifreeze almost looked like it had oil in it, but not how oil typically shows up. It gets frothy normally, but these were not frothy.
There should be 2 1/2 inchers and...
Oh, that's right. There's 2 different 7/16. Alright, now I just gotta get those out of the back.
1/2 inch.
Looks like the nice weather finally caught up to us. It's been about a week of rain. Haven't been able to sandblast anything, or been miserable.
Yeah, now the day we could be sandblasting, we got to tear this motor down. But that's okay. I think there will be other nice days coming up. Being spring and such.
Sure, I got them all. Got those. Got those. Alright, just gonna have to persuade it a little bit more.
Need to get the plasticky mallet. Give it an old caparoo.
Here's a rubber one.
I think there's a set of dowel pins down towards the bottom that always keeps these things kind of stuck on there. We'll be right back. The neighbors are scrapping. Alright, so we got the timing cover taken off, and the neighbors ended up not committing battery on each other this particular time. Tell you, the things we got to put up with. But there's a timing chain. It's got a double roller on it, but it does have some slapaliciousness. So that definitely needed to be changed, but we got a brand new timing chain. And going to get a 9/16 and pull our eccentric off of there. and get this silly little timing chain out of the way and onto the scrap pile.
My bottom's moving.
All that juicy sludge holding it on there. All that sludge-deliciousness. Yeah, that is an aftermarket timing chain because it's got the 3 keyway positions so you can advance or retard your cam.
And they're not phenolic either, right? These are metal timing gears.
Yeah,
Aren't the original ones phenolic?
sometimes.
The ones on our motor were, weren't they?
Yeah, but this is 90s. I don't know if they still had plastic tupper gears on there or not.
It just sounds like a horrible idea.
Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to pull the spark plugs all out of it. Y'all don't need to watch us doing that. And then we will
Comment if you do.
probably strip the heads off of it. And then deal with the oil pan. Or you better get a drip pan, brothers.
I got my hand.
You trying to take the... Now oil filter's dry.
Well,
Probably full of the sludge-deliciousness.
I had it upside down.
Alright, so we're going to pull spark plugs. And then we'll start to yank the heads off of it. Alright, so here's our spark plugs in no particular order. They're all pretty sooty. A few of them are a little oily. But this thing was running a... Looks like one that's not too bad there. But this thing I think was running a 750 double pumper on basically a stock 302 with no cam, no head work, and just a set of headers. So I expected plugs to be a little crappy looking because you're pushing a lot of fuel through there at this point and you've done nothing to really help it flow, so that tends to make things a little sooty looking. So
Did you mention the oil smell like gasoline?
and the oil did smell like gasoline, which means we were probably having some cylinder wash, or it was just running that rich. But
Had a 750 on it. I mean, that's a little big for a 302.
next we're going to go ahead and pop these heads off of here and see what our cylinder walls look like. And see what number's actually on these heads.
So, we're into the bottom end. Pulled the cam out. It didn't look excessively wore or anything. Pulled the oil pan off. It was a little bit of a pain to get off, but it came off. I'm pulling this pickup tube specifically off for the Bronco. Now I'll probably pull this bolt off here once we pull this main cap, but that's specific to that oil pan, probably for the Bronco. I'm sure. I don't know for sure, but I know that this is specific for the Bronco. Might cover other things. Who really knows? Someone knows out there. And I'll pull the oil pump off. Yeah, this thing had been lacking in oil changes in the earlier days of its life. It's unfortunate.
And the crazy thing is, somebody was in this motor. They put a double roller timing chain in it. It had Felpro head gaskets in it. So, you know, I can't understand how somebody's going to rebuild an engine and I guess some goofball just never changed the oil.
Yeah, it's definitely not a good thing. Well, if they just did that timing and stuff, they may not have gotten to the other aspects there. I need a wrench for that. It's 9/16. We'll get this oil pump off of here, and we can start checking out the bearings. We're going to need to find somewhere to set them up so we can keep track of them.
And back there in the distance is a set of heads we pulled off of this. It had the E6 SE heads, which aren't that good. People recommend E7T heads, or I guess GT40s would be good. We're going to check the heads that were on our old 302 blocks to pull numbers off of them, because we want to put a decent flowing set on here, but we're not going to go the pull out the credit card and order heads off a Summit route either. We just don't do that.
No.
But we're going to get some tools together and start pulling pistons and mains and all that happy crap out of here and see what these bearings look like. Okay, so here's the inside of one of our connecting rod bearings. And as you can see, that's pretty scratched up and pretty wore the hell out. Seeing a fair amount of copper showing through, a lot of discoloration. There we go, that's a nice focus right there. A lot of scratches, and most of the scratches are most likely from the oil being so disgusting. So there's a rod. And let me go ahead and grab a main that I've already wiped off. There we go. And here are the mains, and you could see on the thrust surfaces where the crank's getting pushed down, a lot of wear. Not as much going up into the side. But those bearings are definitely done. And Junior's over there taking out the last of the main caps. Once we get that out of there, we will take a look at the crank and see if that could be polished and bearings ordered for it. But once we get this crank out of here, this thing's going back outside and get power washed again, because everything is coated in disgusting, nasty black oil. And I didn't be a mechanic to get dirty. You know what I mean? Be right back.
Well, we got it all taken apart. Crank spun real easy even with the caps on there. So just pull this crank out. We'll get a good look at the mains, the journals here on the crank. It's got a number of E7AE, so E7AE-AA. It's probably just a standard production crank. Journals are a little scratched, carbon buildup, but we'll
and another garbage crank. Yeah, so we're going to take this pathetic thing outside and clean more of the crap out of it and figure out what we're going to do from here, because that kind of looks like we're going to need to get it turned or get another crank, and I am really sick of spending money on crankshafts and getting shit done at a machine shop, because the prices have gotten stupid. So, off to cleaning. Alright, so we took this thing outside and gave it Baffy Poo number 1. It cleaned up quite a bit. Still needs some more detergent put on it and another run through the pressure washer. But Junior went ahead and took the freeze plugs out of it. We took the front oil galley plugs out of it. And did clean up nice considering all the sludge that was on the inside. the crank does absolutely need to be turned or replaced. We actually found a place online that has a crank that comes with bearings, and it's been turned already 10 and 10 on the rods and the mains, and it comes with bearings, and it's only $250, which kind of sucks that, you know, got to pay for a crank. But if you want an engine that runs, sometimes you got to pay for a crank. I am going to call the machine shop up and see how much it is to get it turned, but if it's anything like what they wanted for our Pontiac crankshaft, that's a no bueno, because $300 to get it turned and then not having it come with bearings, just going to make it too much. So that's going to wrap up old Nappy 302 number 2. And we did run the numbers on this. This is a 1987 302 2-bolt main block, just because we wanted to make sure that was right, because the guy that gave it to us told us it was out of a 93 Mercury Grand Marquis, and all they're listing for those is the 4.6 mod motor. So obviously this is an older motor that may have been in a Grand Marquis, but it wasn't the original engine. So that's it for this one. All hail internal combustion. I hope all your crankshafts are better than ours. See you next time. Like and subscribe.